Welcome back to another Pokémon Crystal tutorial. It's been a little while, hasn't it? But we are back and we are ready to do some item work. This is going to be the first of probably a couple of item tutorials. We're going to keep it fairly basic in this one so that we can all get up to speed with how to add custom items, which is a really good way to kind of elevate your ROM hack, make it a little bit more personal, add some quality of life features, and that's exactly what we are going to do today. The first thing I would recommend is getting your files open, much like we did with the backporting Pokemon particular tutorial. I would recommend saving a session if you're working in Notepad++. So get the files open once, save the session, and then you can reopen them whenever you want. And if you're doing item work, you're probably not going to do item work just once, so it really is handy. The files we need are from constants, we need item constants. From data items, we need names, descriptions, and attributes. From engine items, we need item effects. Into constants again for item data constants. And then finally, data items, catch rate items. So there are 7 files there, and those are the 7 files you need to at least get started with editing items. We will need to add a few different items here and there, or a few different files I should say, but they will get you started. Now, once you've got them open, you should have a little read through them. The comments here are really useful. They tell you a lot about what's going on in the files. And this first one here, really simple. It is all the items in the game in one big long list. You've got everything down to item number FA, and that is all of your items. We're going to focus mostly on these upper items in the tutorial. If you're adding items, I would recommend trying to limit yourself to item BE and above, at least while you're getting started, because these are really simple. The later ones, they come with a few complications because you've got TM lists and all sorts of nonsense in the middle of them. But for now, we'll focus just on these items. So let's find our first free item slot. It's going to be item 19. Anything with item underscore and then a number or a set of letters and numbers is going to be a free item slot. So we can use item 19. And the first item we will add is really simple. It's going to be a linking cord. This was introduced in Legends Arceus, and this had the ability to evolve your trade evolutions without needing to worry about playing with another player. It was brilliant, and I'm annoyed they didn't keep it for later games. So we'll start off by changing the item constant to a linking cord. That's its internal name. That's what the code will refer to. Item name, on the other hand, this is its external name. So we're going to do linking cord again, but this time without the underscore. So it's linking space cord here, linking underscore cord on the item constant. You can't have a space in an item constant. Either do it all one long word or add underscores. So no space on the linking cord. You've got up to 12 characters to play with, and we are just bang on 12 here, so it's lucky it isn't like linking a cord, because then it would go over. So yes, 12 characters for your item name. Now for a description, we want to make sure that we're doing the correct item. You can either memorize all the Terusama numbers, or you can just see what's above and below it. We are in between the HP up and the Waterstone here, so we can just go in between the HP up and the Waterstone. Terusama 2, we will copy this to our clipboard for a second, and then we will change it to linking cord desk. So linking cord desk, accidentally moved up the HP up desk there, but it doesn't matter. And then because we've got Terusama 2 desk on our clipboard, we can then just find it in the list. Once again, we're in between HP up and Waterstone. Change that to linking cord desk, and we can give it a description. We'll keep the syntax of all the other evolution items here, and we'll just go for evolves certain, close the quotes there, onto the next line and do a next. Kinds of hash mon. You've got 17 characters to play with, I do believe, on these text boxes. The hash mon there shows up as 14. I think it will be 16 because it's PK, and then MN for Pokemon. but that more than comfortably fits. Now that we've given it a description, we can move on to the attributes. And this is a scary, scary, scary page, isn't it? But don't worry, it's not as bad as you would think. It all will make sense. So the first thing here, let's go for the bright powder. That is how much it costs. So the item attribute is starting your list. The first one is how much it costs. It costs 10 Pokédollars. The second one is its held item effect. This is for in battle. So for things like your accuracy drop with the bright powder, for your held flinch effect for the King's Rock, that is where you would define that. The third one is your parameter. This is a value. This is associated with the item. It's usually 0, but it is your chance in 256, for instance, with the bright powder, of the item effect coming into play. So that would be, what, about 8% of the time the bright powder would cause the opponent to miss. The next one is your property. It controls whether you can select the item, toss the item, or none. So you have 3 particular values here. We've got can't select, can't toss, and no limits. Those are the only 3 things you can put there. However, you can space them with a pipe. Let's see if we can find a pipe somewhere here. So this particular item, the coin case, you can't select it, but you also cannot toss it. So if you do the pipe there, that's saying do both of these before the comma, but we can scroll all the way back up to the bright powder now. The next one's really simple. It is which pocket it goes in the bag. So we've got item, ball, key item. We've got TM as well, but we don't need to worry about that. And then we come to the 2 different menus. One for out of battle and one for in battle. So we've got item menu no use. That's where Oak yells at the player that this isn't the time to use it. We've got item menu currents. That just uses it straight away. There aren't too many items like that. The ones I can think of off the top of my head are repels, and I think the coin case does as well, and maybe the blue card. You've got item menu party, which lets you pick from a Pokemon in your party. Things like the potion, the HP ups, your rare candies, anything where you're selecting a specific Pokemon to use the item on. And then you've got item menu close. That has a confirmation menu, so things like your bike, which goes, you got on the bicycle, or maybe your escape rope where it's like you got out of the building or whatever. Those kind of things are what happens with item menu close. And then you've got pretty much the same for your battle menu. The only difference is it's what happens in battle as opposed to what happens out of battle. But with that long-winded explanation out the way, we're going to be really cheeky here. It's an evolution stone, and we're going to price it exactly the same as the water stone. So we're just going to copy it, and then we're going to make sure to name this linking cord as well. Anything after a semicolon, by the way, is not passed or not read as code. So that means we can put any old thing we like here. So we can even put item tutorial item in here, just so that we know that we did this as part of the item tutorial. Now we get on to the item effects. This is another intimidating as heck page, but I promise you it is not as bad as you think. Especially if you're doing something like the linking cord, because we've already got the item effect for this, and you can see a lot of items have no effect. Now, this is where a difference comes in between a held item in battle and an item that you use outside of battle or from a menu. The held item is seen as kind of like a passive effect, so that doesn't get included in the item effects list. This is something that took me ages to get my head around. If it's a held effect, we deal with it elsewhere. If it's not a held effect, we can deal with it in this list. Now, the Evo Stone, the linking cord, is going to be in this list. So what we will do is we'll find out item 19, and we don't need to write any code whatsoever for this. We can just go for Evo Stone effect again, and we'll make it all nice and neat and put linking cord here as well. And that's all we need to do to get the item in the code. No way to access it yet, but we'll get to that in just a moment. For now, though, we can go and have a look at the other 2 bits. This one is all your item data constants. This is where things like your held items live. You can see there are some things in the vanilla code that never got used, so maybe you can think about adding those as little quick wins. You also have things like held attack up, which I didn't know were a thing. There are all your type boosting items, and here are all your miscellaneous bits and pieces. So do have a look through those and take a think about if there are any of those item effects that you'd like in your hack. The last one here is the catch rate items. This is a little bit of a nonsense thing to have in our ROM hacks, because most of the time you're not going to be trading between Gen 1. If your item that you've just replaced, so back on the constants page, if it matches with an item in here, just get rid. That's what I do. Or if you want to keep it, you can change item 19 to linking cord, just like that. If you do fail a build, it'll probably be because of this. But with that, we've got the item in. We can't do anything with it yet, though, because we're going to need to access the item from somewhere. And that somewhere, of course, is going to be a Pokemon. We'll make the linking cord infinitely repeatable, because I think if you're going for something that deals with Pokemon, you're better off having it infinitely renewable. Thank you, Game Freak, for making it impossible nearly in Generation 2. Anyway, enough whinging. We need to open up constants, marts constants, and then data items marts. Get those in your session if you like as well. That way you can easily get back to them. We're not going to add a new Pokemon quite yet. Instead, we'll go on to marts and we'll have a look at the mahogany marts, because this is where I like adding them. This first one I'm going to actually add a little comment to, and this is the rocket shop. So semicolon rocket shop, and then the second one is the granny shop. So we'll call this one granny shop. So used to putting bloomin' hashes at the moment, but it's semicolons for assembly code. So yes, we've got the rocket shop and the granny shop, and I like putting things just after the rocket section. I think that's a really balanced place for a linking cord. So we can easily edit this. If we go DB10 as opposed to DB9, and then we add on the bottom here, linking cord, and then let's move it up a little bit so it is more prominent. We'll put it in between the Pokemon items that are healing and the other overworld items, so we'll have the linking cord right here. And that is it in a Pokemon. Always make sure to increase the number of items, but 10, unfortunately, is the hard limit. At least you'd think it's a hard limit, but I've got a little trick up my sleeve. But then again, when don't I have a trick up my sleeve? We're going to go and open up the RAM here, the WRAM, from ramwram.asm. Let's make it in big so that we can see what we're doing. And we are going to scroll down to Mart items just here. And what we can do is we can add more of these. So if we go for 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. By the way, what I'm doing there is pressing Control and D. And what that does is it duplicates the line, so we can then very quickly go through and add all of these. So this will change it from 10 items to 20 items. But we must then go down to Mart items, just like that. We'll change that to 21. And that means we've got 20 item slots and 1 to say we're at the end. And that's all we need to do. And now we can sell 21 items per 20 items, I beg your pardon, per store. So we'll do a quick little check-in here at this moment. We are going to get ourselves Sigwin up. And we are going to do a very quick make. You can see when I'm recording this video, I've realised my taskbar came up then. And hopefully this won't take too long at all. In the meantime, what I will do is I will go and grab another search everything, and I'll do star.gbc. These are all my old Pokemon Crystal ones. Sort by date, and this is the most recent one. Let us see. Do we have Retro Arch hiding somewhere underneath all of this? Or has it gone rogue? I tell you what, can swap to this scene. I've got a Retro Arch there. Let us now load up the game and we'll see if it works. Going to drop a save state just to be safe, and hopefully you'll be able to see this on my screen in just a moment. We'll click continue and we are outside here in Goldenrod City. I've got to remember how to fly. It's been a very long time. Let's get ourselves to Mahogany Town. Let's get in here and we can see the linking cord evolves certain kinds of Pokemon, but it still won't. That's a lie at the moment. There's one more thing we need to do. Did you check what it was? Do you know what it is? We need to make it actually evolve some Pokemon. So back on to our tutorial screen we go. And let us open up Evo's attacks from Data Pokemon. And that's what this looks like. Now we are looking for anything that has Evolve Trade. So I'll get this on the clipboard. And the first one we have is Poliwhirl. We are going to duplicate the evolve item here because that's what we want, except we're going to make it a linking cord and we will change it into Politoed. And now we're just going to do this for all of the trade evolutions. So every time we have one, we'll do evolve item, linking cord, and then the Pokemon we're evolving into. I'm going to do all of these together with you so that we know all of the Pokemon we're doing here. And it shouldn't take too long. As long as we've got Evolve Trade as our search, it should be fine. Evolve Item, and then change that to Linking Cord once more. And we can move on. There are quite a few Pokemon that evolve with items, or via trade I should say, in Generation 2, aren't there? Quite a few more than there were with the original 4 in Gen 1. This would have been so much quicker as a yellow tutorial for this part. Linking Cord, Slowking. We're getting towards the end of the decks now, though, hopefully. Evolve Item, Linking Cord once more into Gengar. And thank goodness this is just repetitive. It is not a complicated process. It is just repeating the same thing over and over again, making sure that we get all of these trade evolutions. You can actually add an Evo Stone effect to things like the Dragon Scale, by the way, and then make them trade with that item, but it is a little bit more faffy, and definitely not something I would recommend for attempt number 1. For adding a new item, do it piece by piece, get it working with the linking cord, and then you can think about doing it for other Pokemon later. So now that we have added the opportunity for Pokemon to evolve via a linking cord, you'll notice I don't have any Pokemon that can evolve via a linking cord. So we're going to go for a bonus extra item that I wasn't going to do in this tutorial, but it's a really simple one and it'll give us some key items to add in as well. So we'll go back to the notepad now. We'll find our next spare item slot, which happens to be quite some way down. It's item 2D or not 2D, and we'll call this one the Candy Jar. This is going to be an infinitely reusable rare candy. So we'll look for the Terusama. Is it in between the Diahit and the Freshwater? Yes, it is. So we know we can call it the Candy Jar there. And then for the description, we will go up to the top. Look for the next Terusama. It's Terusama number 3. Get it on the clipboard. Candy Jar Desk. And I do actually very quickly want to look at what the rare candy says, because we might be able to nick it. Rare Candy Desk raises the level of a Pokemon by 1. We're going to nick that. So we'll do Candy Jar Desk, and we'll put that there as well. That means that these two will share the next entry. So we can go down to Terusama 3 Desk now, and we can get rid of it. That does mean that we're saving a little bit of space, but we're getting things all out of order. But quite honestly, once you've added an item description, you're never going to go back and check it. And if you do, you'll use Control and F probably. Attributes is our next item. So let us find something suitable for it. It's going to be an item menu party. So that makes me think this one is probably a good one to do. Do we actually have any key items at our item menu party? That's something I should have checked, but this was very last minute doing this one. Let's get ourselves to item 32, and 2D rather, and we'll do it ourselves. Why the heck not? Let us find a good key item. The bicycle, will do the bicycle as a base. Item number 2D. Copy that in so that we've got a fresh item attribute. We'll change that to candy_jar tutorial item. Don't need to add that bit, but I like doing it. Can't hold it, can't toss it. It's key item, except it's item menu party, and then item menu no use. That gives it all its attributes. Now for item effects, we're going to add a new effect here. Let's find item 2D. It's the candy jar, and we're going to add candy jar effect. Now this is a really, really simple item for us. All it is a rare candy that doesn't use the disposable item effect. So we'll go to rare candy effect. There is a much more efficient way to do this where you check the item you're using. But for now, we're just going to copy it. We're going to go down to the bottom of the item effects. We're going to change this to candy jar effect. And where it says JP to jump to use disposable item, we're just going to return. And that means it's now infinitely reusable. No new item data constants. And 2D is now the candy jar. So that's sorted on the catch rate items. And that means we can think about where to place it. So I've been doing a little bit of thinking about where I want to place the item, and I think I'm going to place it in Mahogany. Quite often I give the candy jar at the start of the game, but I think in this instance it's going to be much more thematic to give it in Mahogany Town. So we need to open up Mahogany Town's map. I'm using Search Everything here to get it nice and easily open. It's in Maps folder and then Mahogany Town, so we'll open up that. And then we also want to open up the event flags. These are little toggles to say, has something happened in the game? And it's very important you use one of these. Otherwise, you're going to get the candy jar over and over and over again and fill up your key items bag, and you don't want that. So we're going to try and look for a really, really large space of event flags so that we can keep all of our custom stuff in one place. And just here, under Tiffany gave the pink bow, we've got 339 events. So let's add a little comment saying custom event flags so that we know that anything below here is going to be custom. And we're going to do const event received candy jar, and then we'll drop that to 338. You don't need to, but it's good to know how many you've got left. So that means we now have a little flag in the game that can let us know, or let the game know I should say, whether we've already received the candy jar. And we're going to go over to the Mahogany Town script here, and we're going to look for this lass. Let's see, if we go right down to the bottom, we'll be able to see who she is. She is this one here. So what script is she? She is Mahogany Town last script. She's currently got jump text face player, which is no good for us. So what we can do is we can rewrite her script. So the first thing we'll do is check event received candy jar. If true, then standard text. So let's do that, and then we can do that just there. So that means that if we've got the candy jar, she'll just do her generic visit grandma's shop text. But we want to have her give the item. So we'll do a write text, and we'll do Mahogany Town last. Let's get that on the clipboard actually to make it a little bit easier. Mahogany Town last found candy jar text. Now, you don't have to put what I'm putting in here. This is just what I would put myself. Found candy jar text. Text. Grandma found this. That's going to be too long, isn't it? One letter too long. So, Grandma found line. This when we... And then para were clearing. And then line the shop. That's going to be our first thing, so we've got our first bit of text, and we might as well do the next bit of text. And we'll do give candy jar text. I don't know what it is, but is that long enough? Yes, it is. Para, I hope you find line it useful, exclamation mark. And that is what we're going to do. We need to close these with done, by the way. Forgot to do that. Otherwise, she's just going to keep reading through. So there are 2 bits of text. So we can go back to the top now. And we'll do verbose give item. That means it will tell you that you've received it. And we'll do candy underscore jar. And then we will do the next bit of text. In fact, let's do a wait button there. Wait button means that it'll wait on that text box until the player makes an input. Prompts button has a little flashing arrow. So verbose give item, candy jar, mahogany town. I can never spell mahogany. It's almost as bad as fuchsia. This is why I like this. Give candy jar text. And then we'll do another wait button. We will set event. And what did we call it? Event received candy jar. And then we can close text. And done. It's end. We also need to do that. And I did also forget to do an open text here. This is why you always double check everything. So open text, write text, found the candy jar text. Wait button, then you get the item. We'll move that event up there as well. And then write text, receive the candy jar, wait button, and close text. It could be advisable to do a little check as well to make sure if the item does go through. So I believe for that we would do if false, then no room. Go down here and we'll just do another bit of text. So we'll do another write text, mahogany town lass. Candy jar, and we'll do no room for candy jar text. And then if we go down to our text again, we can find all the last text and we'll add it here. And we'll just do text. You don't have line space for this, exclamation mark. Make sure that fits. 15 so it does. Do another done there. So it's done for text, end for the script. Go back up there, make sure that we've got it, and then we can do a prompt button this time, and end. So that means we have 3 different conditionals. That if false means if we don't get the item, we don't set the event, so the player's not going to be locked out of it. And now we can run the make. So let us reopen up Sigwin and we'll get the make going. In the meantime, I will swap over to our game screen. And it's very important, if you change a map, don't reload on the map. Save just outside of it. Preferably where you've got a little connection here in the open world so you can reload a map. Because if you don't do that, you might end up getting soft locked in your game and you don't want that happening. Because all kinds of bad things happen when you do that. So let's now open up the crystal because it has remade itself. We'll wait for OBS to do its silly little thing. We reload the game. And then if we go back here, we should be able to chat with her. Oh, I forgot to do something here. We get the candy jar, but that means I forgot to do something really basic. So we're going to undo that and we're going to go back to the prompt. To the script here, and we're just going to do a very quick face player so that she's not staring into the abyss. Really simple thing to forget. One of those things, trial and error. Even in a tutorial you get some, especially with me, because I am so blooming scatterbrained. Let's get it reloading now, and then we'll be able to give it another try, and hopefully this time she won't stare into space. She looks like me trying to have a conversation. And if you look like me trying to have a conversation, there's something wrong. There we go. We are back in the game. And now if she does it, Grandma found this while we were clearing the shop. Squidgy received the candy jar. Put the candy jar in the key item pocket. And let's check. Yeah, there we go. She's doing her regular text now. So if we go to the candy jar, you can see if we go to our Abra, it's just going to keep infinitely leveling up now. So we can do this a few times until Abra gets to its correct evolution level. And then we'll be able to use the linking cord. There we go. Level 16, we get the Kadabra. We learn Confusion. We'll go in here now and we'll buy a linking cord. Thank goodness I've got a lot of money in this one. And from there, if we go to the items pocket, we can use the linking cord. You can see Kadabra is able to evolve. We use it, and we have an Alakazam. And that's it. First two items are done. But we are not done with the tutorial yet. So go back through, make sure you understand this bit, and then we'll go on to the next part. And so for our next set of items, seeing as we've been talking about the Grandma an awful lot, let us go and add the fossils in. Let us try and find 3 items very, very close to each other. I know there is a set of 3 items. I'm going to use items 87 through to 89 for this, just to make it a little bit simpler so they're all together. That does mean we're going to be jumping up and through the items a little bit. But for things where there's a group of them, I'd highly recommend doing that. So let's add in the Old Amber as our first one. Then we're going to add the Dome Fossil as our second one. And we'll add in the Helix Fossil as our third one. There are 3 fossils that we have here in the first 2 generations. And they are in between the Pass and the Charcoal. So let's take a look at this. We did Old Amber first, then we did the Dome Fossil, and then we did the Helix Fossil. So we're just adding the names here like we did for the last couple. Onto descriptions. What shall we describe them as? That is the question. I don't know how they were described in Generation 1. Let's have a little look at that, because I want to get the item description just right, because otherwise it won't be immersive, and we want it to be immersive. How did they describe it in Generation 1? They said it was a fossil of a Pokemon that lived in prehistoric times. Let us shorten that down a little bit. So let's first of all find those items. We were in between the charcoal, weren't we? So I'm just going to use a standard thing here of fossil desk for all 3 of them, because you can do that. This list is just pointing to what it should describe. And what was our Terrasama? Terrasama 9. So let's go for Terrasama 9 desk, and we'll delete all 3 of these, and we'll have fossil desk in its place. A fossil from, close the quote, next prehistory, I think is what we'll have to do here, because I don't think prehistoric times will fit. So we've got a fossil from prehistory. That's all we really need. People will know what the fossil is anyway. It's just to have something nice in the bag. For the attributes of this thing, let us go down to the charcoal once more. Very handy to know what items are in between. And what do we want it to have? Let's have a little think about this. It's going to be a generic item, isn't it? We'll use the star piece, I think, as a base for this, because I think they're going to be worth quite a lot of money, aren't they? So we'll do Old Amber, then we'll do Dome Fossil, and we'll also do Helix Fossil as well. And so we've got 9800, doesn't do anything held, can't select it, it just goes in the items. It's no use item on both of those, so we can add those to all 3. For the item effects, all we need to do here is find charcoal again. Technically we don't need to edit this because they're all no effects, but it's nice to keep them all organised regardless. So we'll do Helix Fossil, Dome Fossil, and then Old Amber. And those are the items in. What item numbers were they? They were 87 was one of them, wasn't it? Which one was 87? The Old Amber is 87. We need to change its catch rate item to Old Amber now. And those are in the game. But it's no good having fossils if you can't revive them. So let us now change that. What we're going to do is we're going to open up a program called Polished Map. This is available on GitHub and it is absolutely wonderful. Look at this. Gives us a visual representation of what's going on in any map. I've opened up the Oaks Lab in maps.oakslab.blk And now we can start thinking about what we want to do to get our fossils revived. I think I'm going to nab this scientist here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on him, and I am going to nab the movement data from Professor Oak. So if we do this here, that means that he's going to be standing down, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers, followed by PAL ends PC blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. Goodness me. Let's get rid of that, so that now his colour is still going to be blue. In fact, let's change him to green so that he's got a little bit of difference. And then we'll change him to Oak's Assistant Fossil Restorer, just like that. If we go back to Polished Map now, and we do Control and R to reload, you can see he's now going to be standing down. Now, I do want to give him a little bit of an area to live in. So I'm going to change this to a PC here. And we're also then going to have to right-click this. This is very much out of the scope of this tutorial, but I can't have him standing in the open. It just won't work with my brain. And we're going to change that to counter. That's a wall that can be spoken through. And then I'm also going to add a bin next to him to trap him in. And for that, all we need to do is this, like this here. Mess that up slightly, but we can fix it just like that. Change that to a wall. And then we can click that there, so he's got a bin next to him. Back into the ASM file for the map we go, and we are going to steal the bin script. So that is Oak's Lab trash can. We're going to duplicate that, and then if we reload the scripts once more, we'll just move one of them over to here. Give it a quick save, and now we will see if it does work. For that, we're going to run a make again, and we'll go over to our game screen. Hopefully this one won't take very long at all. It should be a very, very quick make, and we'll be able to see if we have the scientist where we want him to be, and if he's going to do what we want him to do. So let us now open up, wait for OBS, which can take anything from 5 to 7 working years, and then once we're in, we'll be able to see. We get a sneaky little preview here that he is, in fact, in, and he's got his standard text, and the bin works. So we're going to go outside now. We're going to drop a save, and we can now work on his script. I will say there is a brilliant tutorial over on the Poké Crystal disassembly wiki, which goes into depth about how to add a proper menu to do the fossil restoration. I'm going to keep it really simple. If you do want to follow that, I will ask you, please don't just copy and paste everything blindly. Please try and understand it. If you do copy and paste it blindly, you're never going to learn how things work. And there are only so many tutorials out there. You'll eventually come to something that you won't have a clue how to do. There won't be a tutorial to do it, and so you'll be a little bit stuck. If you are already comfortable doing that, I'm going to say thank you for your time, and I hope to catch you very soon in another tutorial. But if you're sticking with me, we're going to do it in a really basic way, in a way that I hope will be easy to understand. That's something that's going to be an ongoing theme as we tackle the more complex things in the game. We're going to do it in the most basic way. We're going to do it in the way that I think is easiest to digest. It might not be the most efficient way, but it will be the way that it's easiest to read. Or at least that is the plan. And we're going to start off by replacing this script here. This is the original one. It was just a standard text box. We're going to go for face player, and we're going to go for open text. We don't need to face the player, but it's a good habit to get into, because of course he is only facing one way. Now the first thing we're going to want to do is we are going to want to add a little bit of protection to make sure that we don't get a Pokemon when we've already got a full party. So we're going to go for a read var, and then it's going to be var underscore party count. And if equal, then we're going to go for party underscore length, comma, and then no space. Just like that. So that means that if we have no space in the party, then we can jump to something else. Before that, though, we're going to do a little bit of an intro text. So we're going to go write text, and we are going to go for Oak's Assistant Fossil Restorer, get that on the clipboard, hello text. And we'll do just a wait button here. And now we're going to find the rest of the text. And we're going to do a bit of a comment here. And we're going to go custom text starts here. And then we'll do custom text ends here. So that we can easily navigate back. So the first bit of text is going to be a quick hello. So it's going to be hello play _G exclamation mark. And then we'll do a new paragraph. I am a scientist line who moved here. Comes from Cinnabar. He's going to be very enthusiastic. I can restore line fossils. We'll do that in capitals for you. Make sure that's under 17 characters and we'll do done there. So that is his hello text. He's going to say that every time. Now, if we have no space, we'll do this part now. So we're going to go and do a little bit of a diverge here. We'll do write text. And we'll do no space text. Prompt button. And then we'll also, at this same time, do a little bit of an end merge. So we'll do end script. And we will go and do close text and end. That just saves us typing it out many more times than we need to. We'll jump to there at the end of each section. And now we can go and look for the word custom. And we can add our next bit of text. So it's no space text. Text. Come back when line you have room. Cons in your party exclamation mark. Finish it off with a done. And so that means we've got the protection in place. If we have no space in the party, he will say hello and then he'll say come back when you've got space. But we don't need to worry too much about that anymore because we can move on to the actual meat of this where we check the items. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit more text where we have do you want to restore text, and we'll go back to our custom and we'll stick this up here and it'll be a simple question. Do you want me to restore a fossil question mark? Are those too long? They are exactly 17 characters. That is perfect. We'll finish that off with a done again and we can go back up to the top and we'll do a yes or no. If false, so this is if the player says no, we will go for too bad as our next bit of script. And we'll write this part in now. So for too bad, what we will say is write text. And we'll go for too bad text. And we will say in the custom text, and we'll say come back when line you want me to can't restore not in capitals a fossil exclamation mark, and we'll cap that off with a done. Make sure that's under 17. It's exactly 17 again. We're getting very good at those exact 17s. So then after that we can do another prompt button and we'll S jump to the end of the script, just like that. So that means we've got all the declining options out of the way. Let's move on to the positive things. First thing we're going to do is check item, and we are going to check for the old amber. And then if false, we'll go to the dome fossil. And let's just scaffold that up right about now. And what do we want to do? We'll do a write text and we'll do want to restore this one. And if we now scroll back down to our custom text, we will do text. Do you want me to restore this fossil? And I'm actually thinking we'll split this up into two. Let's make sure we cap that off with a done first. So what we can do here is we can go write text, and we'll do Oaks Lab Assistant. Let's just copy it because I'm misspelling it. Want to restore, we'll change to that's a, and then we'll have Dome, Helix, and Old Amber. Make sure that we finish those off with text as well. It's not that important, but it's a good habit to get into. And we'll go Oaks Lab Assistant, and that's a Old Amber. I know that's grammatically incorrect, but it's fine. And we'll do that is an Old Amber. And we'll do the next part of this now, seeing as we're here. So we can change that to Dome Fossil. And we can change this one to Helix Fossil. So now we've got his three very happy texts saying that he is happy that we've got one. We'll do another wait button there. And then we'll do a yes or no. And if false, we go to the Dome Fossil. If true, though, we don't need to put that, but if true, then we can take the item. So we'll do take item, and we'll do Old Amber. And that means we no longer have the Old Amber, and we're going to set an event at this point. And that event is event temporary until map reload 1. This is one of those events where it stays set until you leave the map, and then when you go back into a new map, it has reset itself. That is so that the assistant doesn't just fling the fossil in your face, and we are going to deal with this part now. So right before the hello text, we are going to go for check event, and we'll check for that. If false, then we will go and say can give fossil. We'll put can give fossil here, and we will write some text going something along the lines of, let me just copy this so I don't have to type it out again, already restoring text. So let's find our custom text, and we'll go text hello play underscore G. And para, I'm busy restoring. Make sure that's under again. That is just over. We'll do that. And we'll do your fossil. Come back later when it's done. Are they under 17? Yes, they are. So then we can do a done, and that means now that when we've got a fossil that is being restored, then we can't restore more than one at once. So we'll do a prompt button there, and we'll S-jump to end script. So now we're going to need to deal with the fact that we've got events. Let's go to the event flags, and let's do const event scientist has, and we'll duplicate that 3 times, drop that to 332, Dome Fossil, Helix Fossil, and then Old Amber. So now we've got events that can be linked to the scientist, and we'll also do set event, and we'll do event scientist has Old Amber. I think that's what I called it. Yes, it is. So now we can set that event, and we can deal with it in just a moment. But before we do that, we're going to want to give him some text saying he is restoring a fossil. So let's do Oaks Lab Assistant Fossil. Why am I doing that when we can just bloody copy it and make sure it's spelt right? Oaks Assistant Fossil Restore a text. I will get to line, work, straight, const, away, para. Come back in a little while. Double check again that we're not over the 17 limits. We are far, far beneath it. Also doing a quick check to make sure we've got all of the dones at the bottom of these texts, because it's very easy to forget. It looks like we've been sensible so far. And then what we'll do is we'll write text, and we'll go Oaks Lab, and we'll look for the correct one, which is the come back later script, which I seem to have missed. What did we call it? Fossil Restore. Oh, we didn't call it anything. Come back later text. There we go. Starting to get a little bit of the old fatigue with this particular fossil restoration. It's a very in-depth thing, isn't it? I hope you're following along. And we'll do a prompt button, and then we'll do S-jump to end script. So now he's taken it, but he's done nothing with it. So what we'll do now is we'll do give Aerodactyl as our next part. And we will do give poke. And we will go for Aerodactyl. And it's going to be a level 30, I do believe, for the fossils. You can also do another comma and then have an item after it, but I think we'll be good with this. So let's give him some text as well. Write text, and we'll do Oaks Lab Assistant, or Oaks Assistant rather, Fossil Restorer. Take Aerodactyl text, and let's add that text in here. This fossil became Aerodactyl, exclamation mark, para. I hope you like it. So that's just some very simple text there for Aerodactyl, and we'll copy it for both Kabuto and Omanyte. Just need to change this part to Kabuto, this part to Omanyte, and then we'll change the text in it as well. We could use a string buffer for this, but I think for now we'll keep it as simple as we can, because this is already getting quite a bit complicated. Make sure we spell them correctly. So we've got Aerodactyl, Kabuto, and Omanyte text. So we can go back up and we can do a prompt button. And then I think we're almost done with this. If we do close text, and we don't even need to do that, do we? We can do S-jump to end script. And we will also clear event. Event scientist has old amber. Oh, that was a bit of high effort, wasn't it? The good thing is we can copy most of this and change it. So let us go to the dome fossil, and we'll change everything. Dome fossil, change that to Helix Fossil, and then that is a dome fossil text. Restore this one text. If false, Helix Fossil once again. Make sure we don't do Helix Fossil Fossil. Take item dome fossil. Set event scientist has dome fossil. And then we'll do the take Kabuto text. Change that to Kabuto. Clear the event for that. And it's going to be the Helix Fossil. No, it's not. It's going to be the dome fossil. And then we can copy it all over again. This time for the Helix Fossil. So check item Helix Fossil. And then if false, what we need to do this time. Oh, we forgot give Aerodactyl there. Give Kabuto. There we go. Make sure we get the right Pokemon. And we can go to too bad if we say no to the next one. So too bad. Copy that down to there. That's a Helix Fossil text. Want to restore this one. Take item Helix Fossil. and then change that to Helix Fossil as well. We can copy that because we're going to use it again in a second. Give Kabuto, not give Kabuto, give Omanyte. Then we'll change this to take Omanyte text. Change the Pokemon to Omanyte. And then we can change that to has Helix Fossil because we're cleaning it. And we are almost done with this very, very lengthy script now. We've only got one more part to go. And that is the checks to make sure that we give the right Pokemon. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right back to the top of this here. And we will go and do check event. Scientist has Old Amber. If true, then we do give Aerodactyl. Check event. Scientist has Dome Fossil. If true, then give Kabuto. And finally, check event. Scientist has Helix Fossil. If true, then give Omanyte. With that, we're done with this script. Thank goodness for that. Let's run a make and let's see how much we've got wrong. Let's see, first of all, if it builds. That is the big hurdle number one. If it builds, then we are good to move on. It has built. Let's swap to the game. Let's see exactly what is going on. See if we've got any errors at all with our script. So we'll reload the game. We'll drop into a hard save. And we'll see. So let's check. We have a full party. He should say, if you've got no room, just like that, come back when you do. So we'll do just that. Into Viridian we go, into the Pokemon Center. Let's deposit ourselves Abra, Paris, and Snorlax. Goodness me, this is an old save. And let's fly back to Pallet Town. Gonna drop a hard save just in case things go incredibly wrong here. And now we'll go in to the lab. And we'll go, that is an Old Amber. Does he want it? No, that's a Dome Fossil. That's Helix Fossil. He says come back. That's if we say no. Let's say no at the beginning, and he says the same. Let us now try restoring the Old Amber. And let's have a look. Yep, he's doing that correctly. We leave and re-enter. And there's the Cinnabar Fossil for Aerodactyl. Let's check, make sure it is an Aerodactyl and nothing scary. There we go. We have ourselves an Aerodactyl. So let's try again, this time with the next fossil. We'll say no to the first fossil. We'll say yes to the next fossil. And once again, doesn't let us do anything until we are ready to take it off his hands. We get ourselves Omanyte. And now we can do the third one as well. Come back in a little while. It's been a little while. And there is the Kabuto. Text could do with some cleaning up, but we do have ourselves Omanyte, Aerodactyl, and Kabuto. So that is how to get fossils into the game. We're not done yet though. There's still one more thing in this tutorial. And now for the last part of today's tutorial, we're going to add in something brand new, a shiny leaf, which will be able to convert any old Pokemon into a shiny Pokemon. So let us start off by finding our next free item slot. It's going to be item 32, and we're going to call this the shiny leaf. And then we'll go on to its name, and what's it in between? It's in between the X attack and the X defend. So let's find those and replace this Terusama here with shiny leaf. On to the descriptions. Let's find ourselves the correct one. We know it's in between X attack and X defend. And we'll change this to shiny leaf desk. And then Terusama 4. Change that to that. And we'll go changes a mon. Actually, let's get rid of that. Changes, mons, and then colors. Just like that. That is our description. As for the attributes, let's go into X attack. And this time we are going to call it Shiny Leaf. Did we do that on the previous ones? We didn't need to. Always good to be sure and safe. How much shall it sell for? Probably 9,800. Very expensive item. We will say held none because it's got no effects, so we need the 0 there. And then can't select. Then it's going to go in the items. It's item menu, and this time it's item menu party for outside of battle. No use in battle, so it's going to only be used outside of battle. And now for the item effects, here is where it's going to get a little bit complicated, hopefully not too complicated. I will try my best to explain it as we go along. We're going to type in Shiny Leaf Effect, get that all nice and level. Before we forget, we're going to change item number 32 to Shiny Leaf as well. And now we'll copy this and buckle up. I want to fix that. That's been bugging me the entire time. But strap in, we're about to do some very semi-complicated code. The first thing we're going to want to do is load in to B party menu action healing item. If we look above, it's going to be the exact same start as the candy jar and the rare candy, so we can copy all of these, but we are going to annotate them because this is our own code. So this is going to tell the party menu to act like a healing item. Then this is going open the party menu and let you pick a Pokemon. And then this is if you cancel, which is what the C is. It's a carry flag, so just a little flag that gets set to say they've cancelled. If you cancel, leave. It's as simple as that. And then this one is going to be load the selected species data, including gender and gender ratio. That is all the parameters of the Pokemon, and we need that for the next part. Now, the next part also is very important. We need to set A to 0. That is what XOR means. It means set to 0. So set the A register to 0. That just means that we can then do LD Wmontype and load A into it, and that means 0 equals party Pokemon in this instance. So that means we know we're dealing with a party Pokemon as opposed to any other kind of Pokemon. Now we need to do a far call of get gender, and if carry is set, that means that we have a genderless Pokemon. If carry is clear or not Z, then, or should I say clear and not Z, then we have a male Pokemon. If carry is clear and it's Z, then we have a female Pokemon. So what we're doing here is we're guessing the gender because DVs are linked to both gender and shininess in Generation 2. So to make sure we preserve the gender, we are going to make sure that we set the correct attack and defense DV. That's what we're doing with the far call get gender. We have to far call it though, because it's not in the same bank area as anything else in this item effect. So we're calling it from afar, which is what far call lets you do. So if we go JRC, that's the carry flag. That means it's genderless, so that we can just do standard shiny, and we'll do genderless when C is set. Small c for this. And then what we can do is JRNZ, so if it's not 0, then it's also a standard shiny. Not Z equals male. And that means we can deal with female Pokemon on their own. We have successfully so far managed to isolate all the female Pokemon. That's important because with other Pokemon as well, we're not going to be able to deal with them if they're female and have a particular gender ratio. And that's what we're going to do right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to load in W base gender into A. Now what that does is it loads the gender ratio for our selected Pokemon, which is very important because now what we can do is we can do CP gender F100, and that is all female Pokemon. And if it is that, we can go JR Z, Z meaning match, standard shiny. We don't need to worry about all female Pokemon. However, we do need to worry about gender F 12.5% Pokemon. Starters, Eevee and the like. These can never be female and shiny in Generation 2. And because we're wanting to preserve the gender of our Pokemon, that means we have to do something to say, nope, don't use the item. And so what we'll do here is we'll say female 12.5% and female gendered Pokemon together cannot be shiny. And in those instances, what we'll do is we'll go JPZ no effect message. So we've already checked to see if the Pokemon we're dealing with is female. And if it's got that female gender ratio, we are saying no, no, no. No effect on female Pokemon with a 12.5% female gender ratio. So we've cleared them out of the list. That's good. That means we only have valid Pokemon now for our shiny conversion. So let's start with that conversion. The first thing we need to do is load in some DVs. Now I've already set this in constants, battle constants. This is a female attack and defense shiny DV. And in fact, I'm going to do another definition here of male attack and defense shiny DV. This is a little bit redundant, but it will make a lot more sense if we have the distinction between female and male. So let's now go and load these into B. So to do that, we do LDB, and then we'll do attack. We'll do female, rather, attack, defense. Let's just copy it, shall we? Make sure we don't typo it. So we're loading this into B, and from there, we can do jump row, set DVs, because we'll do the other half of the DVs in just a second. But now we can do our standard shiny after all that time and load into B, and this time we're just going to do male attack def DV shiny. So let's comment those. That is going to be 2 attack and 10 defense, and this is going to be 10 attack. No, it's not. It's going to be 15 attack and 10 defense. And we know that because if we look over at battle constants again, EQU means equals $EA is hex, and that is E, which is 15, A, which is 10, and then for the other one, 2, which is 2, obviously, and A, which is 10. So in Generation 2, a Pokemon gets 4 DV slots. You get attack, defense, speed, and special. And those are shared across 2 different parts of RAM. So attack and defense share a slot, speed and special share a slot. So 2A means 2 for attack and 10 for defense. So now we've got our first part of the DVs. We can go to set DVs at long last. And to do this, what we are going to do is we are going to load in our Mon DVs into A. So to do that, we do LDA and then Mon underscore DVs. And we'll do call get party param location. So these two work in tandem to say, we want this part of the currently loaded Pokemon's data So this is going to be the pointer to the data, and then this is going to load in the data. If we take a look at where it's used elsewhere in item effects, it's used for checking the Pokemon item against the Everstone to make sure that you can't evolve with an Evo Stone. It's used for stat experience in vitamins. It's used to update the stats after using an item for things like your maximum HP. It's used to compare your Pokemon's level to make sure that A, you're not going to go too high over, and B, to make sure you increment the right thing. It's used all over the place in the item effects, and we're using it here to point to our Pokemon's DVs. So now that we've done that, what we can do is we can load what we stored in B into A. So that is load the chosen attack or defense DV byte, so male or female in this instance, and then we can do something called LD HLI A. So that means load into HL the value stored in A, attack defense DVs, then increment HL. So that means that we are getting the attack and defense loaded in to the first part of the Pokemon's data structure, and then we're saying shift up a bit, we need to do the next part, which is exactly what we are going to do now. And for that, all we do is LDA, and then if we go back to our battle constants, the speed and special DV for shinies. So we'll do the same thing again this time, except going straight from A, because we've already got the data loaded in HL, so we don't need to point to it again. Speed and special shiny DVs. These are constant through both male and female. So we only need to load one set. It's always going to be 10-10, regardless of gender ratio, because the only thing we really care about is that attack DV to set the gender of the Pokemon. And now, because we've already incremented the HL, we can do LD in square brackets HLA, load the shiny speed special DVs into the Pokemon's data. So that means now we have the Pokemon's data updated with the DVs. Brilliant. That's almost all we need to do, except we need to recalculate the stats as well. So let us do call update stats after item, update Pokemon's stats after changing the DVs. That's great, except for one thing. It's not going to update HP that's now too high up, because your HP can only really increase. There's no real way to decrease cleanly. So we'll do that ourselves. It does mean that we're going to get a free heal out of this, but I think if your Pokemon's changing colours, the least you can do is give it a little bit of a free heal as well, back up to full HP. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll load the Mon Max HP at the moment. So that is going to be Mon Max HP, load in our Pokemon's maximum HP, and we'll store that somewhere. It is going to be call get party param location first, get our current max HP. That loads it into HL every time we call that, but because it's 2 bytes, we need to do this a little bit more cleverly. So the first thing we'll do is load it into A, HLI. So we're going to load HL, load the first part of the HP into A, and then increment to get the second part. And from there, what we can do is we can load this into A, so we can load A into B rather, so load the first part into B, and then we'll load into C the rest of it. So load the rest of the HP into C. So now we've stored the maximum HP, and the reason we do it in C and B is because we need to use A again for the Mon HP, because we're going to do the exact same thing again that we've just done. Load in our Pokemon's current HP, And we'll do call get party param location and point to our Pokemon's current HP and put it in HL. So we can, from there, load B into A, get the first part of the HP byte, and then if we do LD HLI, and then comma A, store the first part of the HP into HL and increment to the second part. And finally, LD HLC, store the second part of the HP into HL. So now we've updated the HP. All we've got to do now is call use disposable item. Make sure that you can call it. Yes, you can. You see that from Sacred Ash. Take one item away after use, because this isn't going to be infinite use. And then JP, use item text. Jump to the text box to say we've used the item. Oh, goodness me. That is what we need to do. We can add a little bit of text in later at a different point to say the Pokemon's colours have changed, but for now we'll just go for the standard text, because that was a lot of information. Now, I appreciate that was a lot of code all in one, so let's go through it line by line again to make sure that it's kind of clear to understand what's going on. This first part we can group up together. This is the standard opening for any item in the bag, which is going to have an effect on your party Pokemon. So we load in the healing item, which tells the menu to act like a healing item. We open the party menu to pick a Pokemon. If we cancel, then we leave and do nothing. If we don't cancel, then we're going to load the selected species data, and importantly for us, the gender and gender ratio. Now, because we're dealing with our own Pokemon, we are going to load Mon-type 0 into A, because that equals party Pokemon. And then we're going to far call get gender, because that's the first part we are going to be worried about. We far call get gender because it's not in this particular bank, so that means it's not in this section of code, it's elsewhere in the game. So by doing far call, we are able to say, hey mate, we need this from elsewhere, can you go and fetch it please? And it can do just that for us. Now, if we have a carry flag, that is C, that means we've got a genderless Pokemon. Not Z is male and then Z is female. So we can go JRC standard shiny, genderless when C is set. When NZ is true, that means it's a male Pokemon. And so we can go to the standard shiny for both of these, because we don't need to worry at all about loading the lower DV if we're dealing with a male Pokemon. Then we need to load the base gender. That is part of what we loaded up here with the get parameters. And for that, we need to check if it's all female. If it is, then don't worry about lower DV. There's a typo there. That should be gender underscore F 12 underscore 5. If it's female with a 12.5% female gender ratio, then we cannot make it shiny, because then we'll change its gender, and we want to preserve the gender because that means we have the immersion in the game. So once we do that, we can then load in the female attack and defense DV shiny, which is 2 attack, 10 defense. Remember, we set that over in battle constants by doing def female attack def DV shiny EQU to A, 2 for the attack, A for the defense, A being 10 in this instance. And then we can jump to set DVs, because we've just been dealing with female Pokemon. Deal with male, 100% female and genderless Pokemon on our standard shiny, which is our next part. And all we're doing there is we are saying load the male attack and defense DVs instead, which is 15 with the E and 10 for the A. And we can then merge for the rest of the code, because that's the only divergence here. We have the female attack DV, and we have the male attack DV, or should I say the male 100% female and genderless attack DV. So then what we need to do is we need to point to the correct part of the Pokemon data, and we're going to load in the data to HL. And that means that what we're doing here is we're loading in the Pokemon DVs. That's the information we want. Call get party param location, loads them into the HL register, and then from there we stored the attack DV in B, regardless of male or female. We stick it into A, and then we stick A into the first part of the HL. That's what this is doing. The I just means then move up one stage from where we were. So we're going from the attack and defense DVs into the speed and special DVs. And this time, because we don't need A again for this, we just load it straight into A. That is our speed and special DV, which equals double A, which is 1010. And we load that in to HL. That's all we need to do for that part, and it has been set. At this point, we have a shiny Pokemon, but its stats are going to be all over the place. That is why we called update stats after item. So that is going to reflect the changes to stats because of DVs. But there's an exception for the HP stat. HP doesn't properly go down. Reset current HP to Pokemon's max HP. That's what we're doing in this part here. So we're loading in max HP this time into the party param location. We're loading the first part of it into A because it's 2 bytes, and the second part of it into B because HP is 2 bytes. And then we will load into C the rest of the HP. And from there, what we do is we load in the current HP, we call in the party param location, we load the first part back into A, and we do exactly the same as what we did here, but the other way around. So we're storing the first part into HL, increments the second part, and then we store the second part of the HP into the incremented HL. We call use disposable items so that we use it just the once, and then we jump to the use item text. Goodness me, I hope that makes sense to you. Let's now see it in action. Or at least we would be if we added the .loyal for Gold Leaf. One mistake, not too bad. Let's remake the disassembly now, and we'll see what happens. I've already saved myself in front of the Sandstorm house to make sure that we can check this very, very, very quickly. So we're going to reload our game now, and we'll see if the Gold Leaf and everything we've done in this map works. Wait for OBS, there we go. Let's get ourselves into the house. Where are you off to with your Pokemon? Pokemon League, are you loyal enough to win? Let me see. So we do get the Sandstorm TM, that's all working just as we would expect. We'll go back in again. Hello again, dear. Somebody dropped this on their way to the Pokemon League. I don't know what it is, but I hope it's useful. We get the shiny leaf. Take care, dear. Visit back anytime you like. And then she just goes back into her Sandstorm script. And we have our grubby little mitts on a shiny leaf. We're going to use it on our... Let's use it on our Omanyte. We use the shiny leaf. We take a look. And there we go. A shiny Omanyte with its recalculated stats. That is a brilliant sight to see. We can use it on another Pokemon as well, like Kabuto, and that's what shiny Kabuto looks like in Gen 2. We can use it on Psyduck, and we get a lovely blue duck that looks just like that. But with that, we're done for this marathon tutorial. I really hope everything's made sense. Leave any feedback at all, any queries, any questions in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope it's been really helpful for you. And I'll catch you all in the next tutorial video. By the way, leave suggestions down below as to what you would like to see for the next few tutorials.